all the way until 1929. 1929, we have a very dark event known as Black Friday, with the crash of the stock exchange in the United States. Now, Germany being supported by the U.S. means that when the U.S. falters, it grabs hold of Germany and says, hey, you're coming for a ride. Pulling Germany into a depression, pulling the whole world into a massive economic disaster. Now, the German people, who just thought everything was getting better, were all of a sudden pulled into this depression, and do you know who they blame for all of it? They blame democracy. See, democracy is the worst thing we have ever encountered. Had we not taken up democracy, this would not have happened. From this moment on, we shall no longer deal with democracy in this nation. Now, they're in some very hard times here in Germany, back in the 1920s, 1930s. Some extreme change seems the best way to get out of this hard time. Who are the best candidates in politics to provide extreme change? Well, the extreme parties, of course. Take a look at the two options available to the German people in the late 1920s, early 1930s. Over here, on the very far left side of the political spectrum, this girl. We have the Communist Party. Now, we like some of the communist ideas. We're not sure if we want this girl and her Communist Party running the country. Let's take a look at the other option, very far right. Sorry, man. On the very far right, we of course have Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. Yeah, you stood in the wrong place, man. Now, we all know who wins that political battle, because in 1933, the Nazis and Adolf Hitler were democratically elected to power. 30th of January 1933, Adolf Hitler became Supreme Chancellor of this nation. A month after that, there's an event here in Berlin involving the Reichstag building, which is just around the corner. An event involving that building that allowed Hitler to gain absolute control of this nation, gain all the powers he has ever desired. And most importantly, that event allowed him to become Supreme Commander of the Army, which under Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party was built up to massive proportions and then used on the 1st of September 1939 to invade Poland and bring on the onslaught of the Second World War. Second World War to this day is the most catastrophic man-made event in human history. Over 55 million people in total lost their lives during the Second World War. 10 million of that 55 million was just the Holocaust victims. 6 million of that 10 million was just the Jewish Holocaust victims. And that 6 million Jewish people equated for 50% of the world population of Jewish people at this point in history. In World War II, this city of Berlin, capital of Nazi Germany, was hit so badly by the Allies that by 1945, 90% of Berlin had been completely wiped out. Now, for the early years of World War II, all is going well for the Nazis. Looks as if their plans for world domination will become reality. This goes on until 1945. 1945, World War II is coming to an end because over in the West, the Americans, French, British, and various other nations are sending 4.6 million soldiers towards this city. Now, that is not all. Over in the East, Soviet Union is sending an army consisting of 6.7 million Soviet soldiers towards the city of Berlin. Now, the Soviets will enter into Berlin first, will engage the Nazis in the battle for Berlin, and by May 10th, 1945, that Soviet army will defeat the Nazis here in this city, and they will hang their famous red flag from the Reichstag building, signaling the end of the Second World War. Now, after all the smoke is cleared, Allies get together, they got some very important decisions to make. What do we do with Germany now? World War I, we defeated the Germans, we gave them the Treaty of Versailles, we didn't handle it too well, we made them very upset. A few years later, they start World War II. This time around, we need to make sure Germany never starts another world war. Now, what's the best way to do that? Well, we'll keep an eye on them, we'll occupy their country. We'll cut Germany right down the middle, give the East to the Soviet Union, the West to the Americans, French, and British. That seems like a pretty good plan. What about Berlin? At this point in history, everybody wants a piece of Berlin. It is considered the heart of Europe. Geographically, Berlin is not in the middle of the German nation. Geographically, it's far into the east, quite close to Poland, over in the Soviet sector. Well, if everybody wants a piece of Berlin, we'll just cut it right down the middle. We'll give the East to the Soviet Union, the West to the Americans, the French, and British. Man, seems like a good plan. Everybody should be happy, get a little piece of Germany, a little piece of Berlin. Everybody should be getting along. Unfortunately, one man ain't too happy, and that is Joseph Stalin of the Soviet Union, or Uncle Joe, as we like to call him. Now, Uncle Joe did not like sharing when he was a young boy growing up, and as an adult, he still didn't like sharing. He says, no. Berlin is in my territory, so what I want from you allies is I want you to get the hell out of my city. Now, they're not going to get out just because Uncle Joe says so, so he tries to force them out. From 1948 and 1949, for 11 months of that year, Soviet Union blockades all of West Berlin, trying to starve the allies out, cutting off everything that they need to survive. Uncle Joe takes a step back, says, oh, that blockade looks great. They'll be out of here in no time. Until he looks up in the sky. Up in the sky, he realizes that the Allies have mobilized their Air Force to the most successful airlift in human history, the Berlin Airlift. That airlift was so unbelievably successful that the Allies could fly a plane over West Berlin, landed in that city, unload all of its cargo, and take off every single minute. Every minute you have a plane bringing in food, bringing in supplies, bringing everything that these people needed at this point in history. After a few months of this, Soviet Union says, whoa, hey, you know what? We were just kidding with that blockade. We didn't really want West Berlin. We're going to take that down. We're going to go back to our territory and come up with a better idea to maybe get you out of our country. 1948, West Germany was created. 1949, East Germany was created. A few years go by, and all of a sudden 1952 rolls around and the Iron Curtain falls across Eastern Europe. Iron Curtain effectively trapped 9 countries under the control of the Soviet Union. 9 nations of people are now trapped within their own countries because when the Iron Curtain fell, all travel from east to west was officially cut off. There's now no way out of the Eastern Bloc, no way out of Soviet territory. Now there may not be a way out as far as going to a westernized country, but within the Iron Curtain itself, there was one place of freedom, one island of democracy in this massive sea of communism. That one little island was a city known as West Berlin. West Berlin was controlled by the Allied forces, meaning it was an open city with open borders. If you can reach West Berlin, the Allies will give you a Western passport, Western job, 100 Deutschmarks. Hell, they'll even fly you out to West Germany. But the best deal of all, get this, is no matter how ugly you were, they would even find you a boyfriend or a girlfriend in West Berlin. Now, if that isn't a hot deal, I don't know what is. That explains why 2.6 million people start making their way towards the city of West Berlin. After a few months or a few years of this, Soviet Union says, no, we are bleeding to death through West Berlin. We need to finally seal off this little island of democracy. The way in which they chose to do so became a reality on August 13th, 1961. On that very day, at 2 a.m. in the morning, East Germany, unannounced, without warning, sends 40,000 East German soldiers to the border of West Berlin and effectively creates the Berlin Wall overnight. That wall went up in only 56 hours. That's how quickly your freedom was now gone. Because when that wall went up, all travel from east to west was now officially cut off. That wall divided the city for 28 years. 28 years, friends, family, mothers, children, brothers, cousins were separated in their own city. When that wall used to be here, would have run right here in the middle of the street, right where all these cars are driving today. Closest you could get to the Brandenburg Gate or the town of the Berlin Wall was back by the Hotel Adlon and the Starbucks, and I can promise you that Starbucks would not have been there in East German times. Over 250 people died here in Berlin trying to escape over that wall, trying to gain the freedom that we all have today. And after 28 years of death, heartache, friends, family being separated, after 28 years of all this sadness, that Berlin Wall mysteriously or miraculously came crashing to the ground on a very important date known as November 9th, 1989. Now the way in which the wall fell, the story of the fall of the wall, what actually happened to bring that 28-year-old wall to the ground is a fascinating story. It's one of the best stories I know. It is my particular favorite. Since it is the best story I have in my arsenal, we of course will save that till the end of the tour. So if you want to find out how the wall came down, what you do, you're going to stick around till the end of the day, because that, my friends, is when we are telling it. Now, after the wall comes down, a year later, on October 3rd, 1990, East and West Germany vote in their first free elections since the Second World War, and in that year, they vote to reunify Germany into one nation. One Bundesrepublik of Deutschland, that you can go anywhere, north, east, southwest, anytime you want, and most important of all, especially for us today, one city of Berlin. One city that is unique, one city that for years and years was impossible to travel freely across. Today we can, and today we are going to see all that makes Berlin like nowhere else on the planet. Now from this moment on, you're all experts in Berlin and German history. You tell your friends, your family, your girlfriend, your mom, your dad, your grandma, how smart you are. What we're going to do next, we're going to move out that way, and guess what? We're going to learn even more history. Who would have thought of that? Let's go.